welcome to the Mobile Syrup Podcast, otherwise known as the SyrupCast. I'm your host, Igor Bonifasic. It is episode 97. It is the week of November 25th, excuse me. I am joined by Jessica Vomero.
Hi, everybody. How are you doing?
Good. Yourself?
Good, thanks. How are you, Igor?
I'm good, thank you. Mobile Syrup publisher, Ian Hardy. How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you.
And we replaced Rose Behar with a... We are joined by, and we're very honored that he decided to come on to our lowly podcast. Josh. Josh is the Chase pizza producer at the National Post.
Yes. Pizza
That is
snacks.
actually one of his roles, but mostly he is the tech producer.
Yeah.
How are you, sir?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Do you want to just tell us a bit about what you do at the Post and how people where they can read your writing?
Yeah. So I'm in the Financial Post, which is the National Post's business section, but we kind of, jump around and help in the National Post as well on some things. And I run the technology section. So we have obviously a telecom reporter and we have business tech stuff, but then I personally do a lot of personal tech. So gadget reviews, tech reviews. I, do interviews with, Google, Apple, all of them, and we chat tech things. And then aside from that, I complain about pizza pockets on Twitter, and then they
And
send
soap
me
dispensers,
and
right?
soap dispensers, and they send me pizza pop costumes and lots of
life.
crazy stuff.
Hold up. They sent you a costume? I thought you bought that.
No, this was a handmade. You can see it if you
On
go to
Twitter.
Twitter.com/Josh McConnell, 2 C's, 2 N's, 2 L's. It was great as a child.
Wow.
Yeah, and so they had this, I guess it was a contest. I didn't know it was a contest. And where they said, hey, here's a pizza pop costume. What would you do for a pizza pop costume? And I didn't see that part. I'm just like, hey, someone should wrestle Katy Perry's Left Shark in this costume.
Oh, that's great.
And then a week later, they're like, that was hilarious. Where should we send the costume to? I'm like, what?
So you inadvertently entered a contest to win a pizza pocket costume.
Yeah, and so I for like a week I wore a pizza pop costume at work.
Jeez, I wish
So
I
do you
had that
still
kind
wear
of
it?
luck.
It's actually in my closet at my condo, so I can
For
bust it out
Halloween?
anytime.
Do you wear it
Yeah.
around your condo, just like
In
in your pizza
VR?
pocket costume?
Yeah, in VR. Yeah, exactly. And then after that, then I started talking like pizza pockets versus pizza pops, and then pizza pockets was like, hey, have some coupons, try our new ones, and I just escalated from there. So
Brand.
and I should say I broke the pizza pocket rebranding story in
Wow.
Canada
yeah,
because
I did see that.
yeah, so that we saw that was coming down the pike, and so I got official comment, and then Vice tried to sneak in and get it. But they didn't have the exclusive scoop where I said the originals would still exist with a different box.
There you
That
go.
is
So-
reporting at its finest.
Yeah, that's and then
All right, podcast over, everybody.
Anyway.
Let's go.
Yeah.
We're done.
So, we don't talk about tech
Sorry.
at this podcast. No worries. We'll grill you after about your personal tech choices to see if you're a shill for someone.
Like Zach is for Tellus.
Yes.
And Igor is for Apple.
OnePlus.
And me-
Thank you.
And me for Tim Hortons.
So we're just going to jump to the music, but when we're back, we're going to talk about the great new Freedom Mobile, formerly known as Win Mobile, and one John McAfee. So welcome back to the SyrupCast. Mr. Hardy, Freedom, yes. Please rewatch Braveheart if you haven't already in preparation for the rebirth of Win Mobile, now known as Freedom Mobile. I guess let's start with the superficial. What's everyone's take on the brand, the new brand, starting with you, Josh?
there should have been more bald eagles.
Yes.
That was my first thought. I'm like, there's such a missed branding opportunity here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we could have played off the American card, but no, honestly, I don't know. I think it's just window dressing. Like, that's all it is. That's in my opinion. I think if they could have done, Shaw Mobile if they wanted to, but I think it was everyone has their opinions of Shaw, and Shaw was here before. What was it, like 12 years ago? I think Shaw was more here, and then kind of them and Rogers did a bit of a switch with the West Coast.
TV stuff.
Stuff, yeah. So it was kind of like it was already kind of here, kind of not. It is still here, kind of. So I think it was just like, you know what, we just want a fresh start, fresh name. I don't know why exactly they went with Freedom. You can maybe give us more insight on that. I think it's personally hilarious, but that's just me.
Yeah, so I think that does bring up a good question. the Shaw angle is interesting, right? Like, why didn't they go with Shaw Mobile?
I think, well, let's step back.
Yeah.
So, first, what's your opinion?
My opinion?
Yeah.
I think that's a very sad freedom bear.
Freedom Bear. Amazing.
Well,
They should have used TED.
They should have. More
Ted
seriously,
swears.
I guess. I think that it might be a not entirely successful attempt to tap into a feeling that a lot of Canadians are feeling about our telecom situation. And a lot of Canadians feel trapped in their wireless plans. And while I don't know if they were entirely successful in capturing that with this new branding strategy, I suspect that that's where they were going with this. But I mean, you covered this story. What's your opinion?
I've been covering this since 2008, even before they launched, which was a long time ago. So I remember Tony Lacavera, who founded it. He traveled the world to look for money, and he ended up getting like $1 billion from Orascom and Vimpelcom, which was a long haul for him. And then in 2010, when they launched, the big three carriers came down on them, regulatory issues, foreign investment issues. And now that Wind Mobile sold to Shaw for over $1 billion, $1.4 billion, which is great for the investors. Tony's out of it, which is good for him. But this new freedom is a complete shift for the whole company from a brand perspective. Everyday wireless customers could not care, I don't think.
Right.
So when they made the change, I said, why freedom? And I asked, we took a video of it, I asked, and Alec Critchide, who formerly founded Public Mobile, is now the CEO of Freedom Mobile, was hired on right after or right before they sold, I believe. He said, well, it's to get rid of our baggage of previous history, to tell the consumers and our customers, that we're over 1 million customers now, that they do not need to be tied to a contract, and we're here to save you. We're freedom, which is great. But everyday people are so entrenched with the Win brand that they have to get reorganized, re-recognized with this new freedom, right?
I don't know. Like, I'm so torn because they're very literal meaning for freedom. Like, clearly is what they're doing. But then there's brands that are just like, they'll throw some name that means absolutely nothing. And I don't know what I like more. Do I like the literal approach of freedom of like, we're freeing you from this? Or do I like a brand name that might not have any meaning to me, but then the meaning will shift to this mobile? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how I feel about such a literal. It just seems like they sat in a room and like, I don't know, freedom.
I spoke with Tony right after.
Okay. Yeah.
I called him and I said, what are your thoughts? And he said, oh, you can go on record with this. I don't care, which is fine. So I guess I will.
Because he did not have kind words to
Breaking
say.
news, everybody.
Yeah.
He spent $125 million branding this company.
Yeah.
From the beginning. And he said, I don't understand why they would have changed it to Freedom Mobile instead of Shaw, which was the original question, or Shaw Mobile, Shaw Wireless, because Shaw is already established in Canada. They already have a great brand presence in Canada, across the country, well, specifically in the West.
But also in Ontario, right? Because of Chorus and stuff, right?
Correct.
Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
So he says they just have to start from the bottom, and it's stupid to start that fresh now in wireless. So essentially, I believe what happened is that the relationship with Wind overseas was not renewed. So either Wind Mobile here in Ontario didn't do it, or Toronto or Canada didn't do it, or over there they didn't do it. Something happened, and that's why the fresh start from Freedom Mobile.
Right.
So,
Interesting.
But the bigger story here, apart from the brand refresh and the teddy bear, is that they have
Hey, that's the most important part of the story.
podcast done.
Yeah.
thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks for listening. It's very nice of you. But the biggest thing is that they have LTE, which is customers have been wanting that for years.
Absolutely.
So it's launching on
With an asterisk, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A very big asterisk.
So it's on So it's launching on the 27th in select markets, Toronto and Vancouver,
and
then
not
we'll-
all of Toronto, not
correct.
Yeah.
The GTA, like a small like building.
Yeah.
There's 2 places, and one ironically is the Rogers building. It's like, this is weird.
And then with one phone, right? So the V20.
Yeah.
And then the
Grand X
in
4,
December.
which like who's gonna buy the ZTE Grand X4? If you plan to, please leave a note in the comments.
If you want to experience freedom.
Yes.
if it's priced right, which it probably will be, right? With
You have
their
to pick from
plans.
these 2 phones.
Yeah.
Free.
Yeah.
But their plan offering is really good.
Yeah.
$40 for whatever it is.
But
Yeah.
you know, someone in the comment section made a good point, which was when Rogers, Rogers, Telus, and Bell rolled out their LTE, you didn't need to get a new phone, right? Like,
Yeah.
you didn't
Right.
need to change
That's
your
true.
plan.
Right.
And that seems to me like a non-starter in some sense.
Well, is that true? I feel like you did have to. Well, I guess not all of them.
You
Some
have-
of the
you have
plans
to get a
had
new
to
SIM.
change. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
new SIM. That's what it was. Like,
Yeah.
there
Yeah,
still
I
was
don't
a
think it was
change.
entirely cohesive across.
Right. But no,
New
but that's
SIM
being said.
compared to
Yeah, no,
new
that's-
phone.
Right.
And like, is the V20 really the phone for everyone? Like, let's be honest about it. It's,
Yeah.
you know, it's a nice phone in certain respects, but it's also expensive. Does everyone really need like the hi-fi audio?
Yeah, I think that's the thing that surprised me more than anything else is the phones that they actually went with to launch this LTE
Well,
network that everybody's
It's
been waiting
like a
for.
technological limitation,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
band
Yeah.
66
I
and
would
band
imagine
4,
so.
and those are the only 2 phones that support it right
For
now.
sure.
Yeah.
So I asked him at the event, are you going to have the iPhone? He obviously said he couldn't talk about it, but he hinted that they will have an iPhone, potentially the next iPhone, if it supports the AWS Band 66.
Which
Yeah.
I think like every year, and they don't talk about it with each and but every year Apple does add more,
Yeah.
bands
Bands.
to the phone, and so very plausible that it could happen next time because they want to get into those new markets. But
That's why they took out the
Yeah,
headphone
for sure.
jack so they
Yeah.
could
They
physically fit those bands into the phone.
I think they specifically like, Freedom Mobile's coming.
Yes.
In order to make it work in Canada, let's take the headphone jack out globally, and then we're good.
They're
I
like,
think that's the how
this
it went
will push Apple over the top again.
down. Yes.
That's true. I do think not having some of those more well-recognized phones could affect early momentum, which I mean, even if they get them later on, like that can be a big non-starter for a company that start trying to rebrand from the ground up.
But they're also saying that their LTE network is traffic free, so you'll have freedom on the LTE network, which is actually really
So
accurate.
That is
internet-
because no one's going to be on it so far, and they know that, right?
So
Yeah.
the internet really is a series of
true.
tubes, even in wireless, right?
Dumb pipes.
That's
Yeah.
so funny. Douglas said that this morning on the CanCon podcast. Exactly those words.
Or was
there-
it? Or was it Igor?
Oh my God.
Posing as Douglas.
Inception.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. So that is a great move for Freedom Mobile, Win Mobile, because LTE network. Some were thinking that it's going to be launched next year. They got it early. It's launching this year, which is great for them to end their year, right?
Yeah.
Everything for their LTE network will be pushed out by August of 2017. So they have 1 million subscribers, 1,004,000 or 44,000. So progression, which is good for them.
Yeah, and I mean, as much as we joke,
Yeah.
they are, with an asterisk, but a success story, and it's great to have an expanding new competitor nationally. And there's limitations for sure, but we cannot there's nothing bad about having a new competitor.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Really can
And,
be.
I
And
mean,
they've
if you
got-
look at the areas where there are more telecom companies competing
Viable,
for
yeah.
customers, like the price is just
Yeah.
it's a huge difference.
So I'm 100% behind.
And they've got Shaw and Shaw money and Shaw backing.
Yeah.
So they're not
Shaw
going anywhere.
family.
And plus Shaw.
Well, it helps for lobbying, right?
Yeah.
And plus
yeah.
they'll be launching voice over LTE and Wi-Fi calling on the LTE network. So that'll help some people out in the demographic that they're looking at.
Yeah.
But it's still so. I mean, we haven't kind of gone into the crux of the issue, which is why they rebranded, right? Like, it's from your kind of the interview you did with Alec, it seemed like it was basically like a very petty money issue in some sense.
They
like,
didn't want someone didn't want the license
Yeah.
agreement for Win to be renewed,
yeah,
which comes down to money
yeah.
because they
But
needed it to be renewed for 10 years.
But but then you also have to spend money to create that brand, to rebrand all the stores, to rebrand all
Totally.
to retrain all your
Yeah, absolutely. Like
But you can see. I was just gonna say, you
Yeah.
can see on it's still orange and blue. They're still like they're very.
Yeah, are they
smart.
really rebranding anything other than the name?
Yeah. I feel like it's almost like a legal loophole, so to speak. Like there's like
Likely.
people will be able to still say, "Oh, orange and blue." Yeah, like I think wind. If you're in one of those markets, you kind of already knew what they looked like. What that so the freedom is still going to be like, "Oh, that looks kind of like wind." And maybe if you didn't know about the rebrand, I feel like you would kind of it would signal something to you, you know. So I don't feel like it's a complete start over, but it's still a very high uphill battle.
But you're right. Think of the cost across the country to do that.
Yeah.
All the signage, all the pamphlets, all the internal email and web, every Twitter account.
Everyone's name tag.
Everybody's name tag. That
Even Alex has to change.
is the crux of it.
Yeah. Brass tacks, my friend.
And think of all the bears they have to produce.
All the bears.
Think of all the bears, the sad bears, not freedom bears.
Think of the bears.
Yeah.
Think of the bears.
The bears are happy bears, I think.
I think so.
I
Totally
Does the
disagree.
happy
bear have a
bears.
name?
It's
Freedom bear.
Freedom Freddy.
Okay.
is that
He
That's the
loves
real name.
freedom.
That's great. So he's Ted's cousin.
Yeah.
So I asked, I said, why a bear? And he said, well, we could have gone with a bear. We could have gone with, I think he said,
Freedom fish.
no, he said a bird, so maybe a parrot or something like that.
Eagle.
No,
I feel like that would
A
cross
fox?
the Telus territory, though.
a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah.
And Telus has been very successful with the animals.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have. That's been a big part of their branding strategy.
Yeah.
All right. So on that note, we're going to take a quick break. So welcome back to the SyrupCast. If you're watching the video version of this, you'll notice that we've replaced Ian Hardy. And if you've been playing Pokemon Go, you'll know that Ditto was added to the game. And if you know how it works, you have to catch a bunch of Pidgeys, and then one of the Pidgeys will turn into Ditto. So what we did was we threw a Pokeball at Ian, and it turned out to be Patrick. Patrick, welcome to the podcast.
And I
How are
came
you?
back, and I had way more hair
Yes.
than Ian.
I was gonna make a David Blaine joke, but
that's
that was
good.
that's a better one. I like the Pokemon introduction.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So what was supposed to be a very slow news week turned out to be a pretty fun news week, thanks to one John McAfee. Jess, you covered this story for us. Would you like to give us the details?
Yes, absolutely. So there is a Canadian-based startup called Equibit Development Corporations, also known as EDC, that does blockchain security technology, that announced through an article on VentureBeat that they had hired the one and only John McAfee to be their chief security officer. I was surprised,
Yeah.
very understandably, but we saw the story. It's VentureBeat. They're a credible tech publication. We're like, all right, we're going to source this and write it up. And about an hour later, Fortune actually published their own version of the story, and McAfee retweeted the VentureBeat story. I don't think he had read it yet. And he then went to Twitter to let everybody know.
Before we get to it, do you want to give the Coles Note version of who John McAfee is?
I'm sorry, I feel like I forget everybody doesn't know that.
Just so we're all on the same page.
Absolutely. John McAfee is a securities blockchain technology expert who founded McAfee and Associates in 1987 and subsequently left the company in 1994 and currently runs a publicly traded company.
He runs a bunch of different
Yeah, a bunch
companies.
of
There's like
different
5 or
companies,
6.
like-
Eccentric millionaire.
But none of them
Yeah.
are like
Strange billionaire.
none of them are like anything of notoriety. That
Yeah,
like the average
he's
person would know.
started a bunch of companies over the course of the 2000s, like one in 2007, one in 2008, one in 2014. One of them was an app. I don't know.
He's
And-
like the anti Richard Branson.
yeah.
One of them was an app that was kind of like the BlackBerry DTech software,
Yeah.
actually, where it checks to see the permissions that apps have
really?
access to,
Yeah.
which was kind of interesting. And
It's
I think
kind of cool.
I think he did that before BlackBerry did it,
Yeah.
possibly.
He also ran for the leadership of the
He did.
American
Lost to Gary
Libertarian.
Johnson.
Yeah,
though,
I remember that.
unfortunately. I would have liked to see a John McAfee election. I guess we kind of did in a sense with just another guy. But anyway, that's not the point. So essentially, he has become sort of a security blockchain evangelist that advises over 31 companies about their cybersecurity. And this is what he tweeted, brings us back to the denial that he said that Equibit had entirely exaggerated the role that he had taken with them and that he had not taken any money. He was not employed in any kind of role. And his wife actually got in on the action too, saying that they were horrible for ruining Thanksgiving and now that they had to do damage control
Damage.
on
That's
their
so
day
good.
off.
"Quote unquote damage."
It was an
control.
interesting
Good
day.
quote.
So Josh, let's say hypothetical situation. You decide to leave the Post, start a blockchain pizza pocket company. I don't know why those two would
That's
go
a
together.
great company.
I would love to
I think I have 4 investors.
I
in
was
this
just gonna
room
say
right
that
now.
I'll
Oh,
give you
you
money
do.
right now for that company.
All right, the Uber of pizza pockets.
Okay.
That sounds like that's something you can scale
Hey,
into a
I like
$billion
that.
business.
You
I like
put
that.
I feel
in
like
your
it's a
digital
hit at
campaign.
Silicon Valley.
There you go, the Uber of anything.
Yeah. So, and I don't know, let's say I'm your advisor and I say, security is important. Let's get John McAfee. Why would any startup, let alone a Canadian one, sometimes this is put to the test very often. So, we see ourselves as a kind of diverse, thoughtful nation.
Mm-hmm.
Why go after John McAfee? Is for those that don't know, he's been accused, he's had some
Lots of legal battles,
Run-ins
murder,
with the
rape,
law.
assault,
rape
And drugs.
drug use, like lots of different things.
Yeah.
But I mean, as the CEO of Equibit stated, they're not in a place to comment on
Yeah.
his private life.
Yeah.
But
So so what do you think was going through their heads?
So obviously I have no insight whatsoever. It's purely speculation. But I kind of feel like they might have approached a few people and just see what stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And he has this history of like, yeah, sure, I'll give you feedback. And one of the quotes was like, they said, "Can we call you this?" And he's like, "You can call me whatever you want."
Call me king.
Call me. That's what it was. Yeah.
That was a
That's
headline
my
that we had
favorite.
for a while.
I really wanted to title the story "Call Me King,"
Yeah.
but they wouldn't let me.
So I feel like then the light bulb goes off and they're like, we could run with this. And and whether they thought it's gonna stick and they can, get away with it, or whether they thought this is just gonna get people talking about our company.
Well, I mean, they dropped the story on American Thanksgiving, so
Yeah,
what?
I think, yeah.
So I just feel like it was probably, it stuck, it worked, and then like, hey, let's call him this, let's do this PR thing around it and just see what happens, whether he pushes back or whether they just get on people's radar. I mean, it went to Fortune, it went to VentureBeat, so it clearly
And they
worked.
still haven't corrected their stories.
Oh, no, they still-
Because they didn't actually talk to him or anything.
Yeah,
right?
they just got the press release. And when we reached out to Equibit, before the whole Twitter fiasco happened, they responded to us that McAfee was going to be an internal auditor for the company who would be conducting penetration testing, reporting
is a full-time job.
reporting directly to the CEO to make sure that they comply with all the regulatory barriers and make sure that they essentially follow the rules and that they will remedy any holes that their penetration tester finds after he finds them.
And this story is still developing too, right?
Yeah, because we have somebody coming in at noon today from Equibit to make their official response is what they said, though I don't really know where you go from
It'll be a
here.
fun interview.
I just still think
will
it's a PR thing mainly. Like that's
I think
really
so.
what I think it is.
Yeah, they totally wanted to build up some hype on McAfee's name.
I
right?
feel like they probably could have built up just as much hype if they said John McAfee is our king.
Yeah, I would. That's what I would have done if that was my.
That would have
company.
been factually correct.
That would have been correct. He would have
Yeah.
said, yes, this is, he would have retweeted that. He would have read it, been happy.
He would have chuckled while on the run. Who knows when?
He was on the run for a while.
For a
Yeah.
while.
Like
He
Vice
was.
did a documentary where he was like
In Guatemala.
Didn't
Some
know where he
murders
was.
in
He was in
Belize,
Guatemala.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He was like trying to leave the country like discreetly.
What a figure. I
It
don't
was
even
crazy.
know.
But that's why, again, like I joke, but like I think of him like the anti-Richard Branson, because Richard Branson does all these crazy things. I feel like he does all these crazy things, but they're not like the greatest crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, so you have two extremes of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly. You
I
have
don't
to be
recommend
journalistically
watching
correct.
this at work.
Yeah.
Because it's
No.
not safe for work. But you can Google or YouTube John McAfee on how to uninstall McAfee software.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this. It's so funny.
It's so cringy.
And he basically says that it's like a virus.
Yeah.
They took his name and created a virus. Because in a way, it's
He hasn't
not
had
obviously.
anything to do with the company
No,
in like
for
20 years.
For 20 years, but they still use his name. And the last time that I had a McAfee virus scanner, it kind of works like malware. Like if you haven't renewed or you've used the trial, it's constantly prompting you
Yeah.
to renew and like put in your credit card information in the same way that the malware would. So like that video is crazy, and he's like swearing all over the place. But he also has a point to a certain extent.
Yeah. Well, for a while, I don't know how long ago this was, but it would actually say, vulnerability would
Oh,
come
yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And the vulnerability is that, it's expired.
Exactly.
You don't actually have something on your computer, but they make it seem like you do, and they just want you to could renew it. So
It seems a little bit of a shady way to
Yeah.
operate a virus prevention software, but I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, what do you think like happened in terms of like, was there a miscommunication there? Like where do they go from here now? I guess like with this, like, and also if you're a security startup, do you really want to be kind of known as shady?
That's true.
Right.
True.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're gonna backpedal on
Yeah.
this,
Oh, of
the actual
course.
company itself. But I also kind of feel like part of it is like McAfee's fault because he was like, "You can call me whatever you want."
Yeah, he
Yeah,
didn't
he
say you can't call me
And
CSO.
Didn't
right?
they say something that they were going to call him that?
Yeah, and he
Was
even-
like, "Cool."
Yeah, we talked to John McAfee actually over Twitter. We slid into those DMs, but and yeah,
Claim to fame slid into John McAfee's DMs.
That is a big claim.
that is
Yeah.
a big claim. And he said that they had asked him, "Can we call you our CSO?" And he said, "Call me whatever you want, but I never asked for any money." And I mean,
So that's why I'm like, I don't know how you're so surprised that this is how things
like
played out.
you
Yeah.
said, "Call me whatever you want," and they called you whatever they wanted.
Maybe they misrepresented
I
it.
think
but
that's probably the
yeah.
biggest thing is
But I
that
don't
they
blame
made
him.
it seem as if he had taken employment with another company. And while he's eccentric enough to say, "Call me king, call me whatever you want," I think that his stockholders actually turned around and said, "Well, dude, like you work for this company," and the stock for that company he currently works for tanked.
Yeah. Oh, did it?
He had to backtrack.
He had to backtrack and turn around and explain to his shareholders. And I mean, while I'm not a big fan of the guy or any kind of fan of the guy, really, I guess I do understand that
Yeah.
aspect of it.
And I feel like if they had called him like the same title and everything, but they just said he's at a distance, he hops in once in a while,
Yeah.
he would have totally just ran with it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
you're
he
saying,
would have
like,
been, because that was the truth.
Yeah, he just been like, "Yeah, call me whatever you want, but say up front, I'm only doing this, this, and this."
Mm-hmm.
But they were like, "Well, this is his title. He's doing this, and he's like, "Wait a second, like I've been to Toronto like 3 times."
Yeah,
Probably-
I know. And he
probably
said,
secretly
"I would have
lives here,
to
let's be
move
honest.
to Canada."
Yeah.
That's insane. I'm like, yeah, insane.
He tweeted that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
that's right.
did.
Actually,
And Canada
tweeted
hates
that.
freedom, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
know. We just,
Unless it's a mobile company.
that's very
you think he
ironic.
would like, yeah. But Justin Trudeau, he could get a photo with Justin Trudeau.
That's true. I mean, doesn't everybody
could
want
be
a
in his
photo of
Snapchat.
Justin Trudeau?
Yeah, nice hair.
So don't ever say that we never taught you something at Mobile Syrup, and that is honesty is the best policy.
That's a good moral. You should have a moral every week now.
Oh, that's a
and
good
create like
one.
a
Oh.
Deep
segment,
thoughts,
Igor's
Igor.
morals.
Yeah.
Remember, I don't know if you know Animaniacs.
Yeah,
There's a show,
yeah.
They had the wheel at the end, and they would give you a tip, and they spun the
Yeah.
wheel. That's your new thing.
I
All
remember
right?
that.
That's our new. Okay.
Yeah.
I like
We're
that.
gonna build the wheel. We'll get Robin to do it. We'll find some way. She's laughing right now, saying like, "No, I'm not doing this." But you know what?
I see her like nodding her head, saying that she's already gonna start building
Like,
it.
guys, what are you going to make
Make
me do?
wheels great again.
I hate my
make
job.
wheels get great again. So on that note, we should wrap up. But again, Josh, where can people find you?
So financialpost.com, there's the tech desk there. There's lots of fun articles. Or I'm on Twitter, just at Josh McConnell. So that's 2 C's, 2 N's, 2 L's. And I tweet lots of ridiculous things. So you have
So
been
please
warned in
troll
advance.
him.
I'll sometimes retweet Patrick's VR selfies.
That's what I do.
I have my collection growing. I probably have like 15 pictures now of him wearing VR headsets.
I like to imagine you just have like this little shrine on your computer with all my photos in there.
He has a binder full.
Oh, binder.
Binders
a
full
binder
of
full of
VR
Patrick's.
selfies.
I like it. I like it. I like it.
Anything you've been working on recently that you want to tell us about?
No, like just lots of tech things. We did the new MacBook Pro review that went up.
How much time do we have, Robin?
Yeah, so that's
All right. Give us the Cole's Note version of your, because there's a lot to say about the
There
MacBook,
is.
and I know we've talked about it like 4 weeks in a row.
It's like the
but why not make
focus of like the last 4 podcasts.
but I was not here.
It's
So,
true. It's
you're
true.
welcome.
It's
That's
true.
true.
All right.
Yeah. So
Lay it on me thick. Let's hear it.
So I like it more than I thought I would. That's
Okay.
When I saw the announcement, I was very honestly kind of disappointed. I was not impressed. I
Do you
thought
have like a physical revulsion where you're like, I need a puke bag right now?
I just had another pizza pocket, to be
Okay.
honest with you. But no, it was. I was just kind of like, okay, there was this hyped up redesign. It's been 4 years, and we got a slimmer laptop. But honestly, like it way more than I thought I would. The keyboard feels great, and the touch bar has tons of potential once there's the app support. My biggest complaint, though, is remove all the USB ports, or old USB ports. It's USB-C now, but put in a dongle. Like, honestly, just throw one in the box, and I would have been a lot more happier. I think it's kind of ridiculous they didn't put a $10 adapter in, just because chances are you don't have all USB-C devices yet, and if you're professional, you have USB keys lying around, like normal USB keys. Like, you can't plug anything in. So my Cole's Notes is, it's actually like a really great laptop, runs really well. I really dig the touch bar, and I can support the whole USB-C thing for sure. Like, it's definitely the way things are going. I like the idea of everything moving to one port and how you can plug in the power adapter everywhere, but just put in a dongle. I think they should have done that. And
Just one
Raise your
dongle.
dongles.
Honestly, just one dongle.
At
Help
least
us-
until everybody makes the switch, right?
Help
And
us live the
everything moves
dongle
over.
life.
Yeah, but honestly, like, I'm using it right now as my regular computer, and I love it. Like, it fully gets my recommendation.
If you have the cheddar
If you have that's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
or the pizza pockets to trade in.
The pizza pocket.
yeah. I'm bringing back the barter systems. Like, so how about 4 pizza pockets? Maybe 5.
I feel like you would need probably 1,000. You know.
You'd need a lot.
But if they come from the pizza, like, if I'm wearing the pizza pop costume,
Also,
That's
wow,
true,
that's
I don't
true
know
too.
if Tim Cook would take them because he's all into the healthy lifestyle. He's like, there's too many
Are you
trans
sure
fats.
that's not just an act, though? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe he will take them.
He's pretty jacked,
He
right? You
is,
can
he
attest
is.
to that.
yeah, he is.
He's
actually,
pretty jacked.
Every when we're sitting there at the press conference with our laptop, and he comes out, I'm like, suddenly I'm like, why do I need to go to the gym right now?
Yeah.
I'm just like sitting there like chowing down on the free food.
He is a big dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Him and Dre.
they probably work out together
together, yeah.
with Beats headphones on.
Yeah. With Drake in the
That
background.
would be a great
Dancing
commercial.
to Bad Blood.
I would love that commercial. Like, I would go out and buy Beats
That
headphones
actually-
right away.
That would be a really good. They should actually do that.
They
Put
should
Tim
do that.
Cook in one of these commercials randomly, just like the new
Marketing.
Stan Lee, how Stan Lee appears and everything.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like throw Tim Cook in the background of commercials, and then like let them buy a newspaper.
Just
Like a
as, like-
deer in the headlights, right?
yeah.
That'd be so good.
Drake could just be like, "Yo, you lift?"
Yeah.
You-
I do, bro. I do.
Like, yeah, with my Apple Watch on.
Yeah. So on that note, shout outs, starting with you, Pat.
oh man, come back to me.
You're supposed
I
to plan
specifically-
that.
said-
I didn't have one ready.
All right.
I
Actually,
have
no.
one ready.
Okay,
I
Jessica,
do have one.
Help us
I can
drain
do
the
it.
swamp.
You can go first, then I'll go.
All right. My shout out goes to Janice McAfee, whose Thanksgiving I ruined by forcing her husband to do damage control yesterday.
Whoa.
I'm very,
Whoa.
very
Nice.
sorry.
Thanks
Josh?
for the turkeys. Well, I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be like half serious, half not.
Can be whatever you want it to
So
Mine
be.
you know
was
what?
not
Zach
serious.
once called out a Disney Lion King.
It's a Lion King.
Lion King, and I was like, get out of this room.
I did PayPal, remember? You
Yeah.
were like, Jess,
Yeah,
why
as
are you
long
doing
as-
sponsored content that no one paid for?
yeah.
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 That was a good one.
Well, so like honestly, the one thing I was gonna do is like shout out to Microsoft because I saw that they're shipping their Surface Studios early, and just like as a broader thing, they're just doing so many cool things right now.
It's true.
And I can't wait to play with the Surface Studio. I have not played with it. Microsoft Canada, I was talking to them, and they're like, we haven't even played with it yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know when we're gonna get to play with it. But I mean, with a new product like that, sometimes you get delays, like months-long delays. They're actually shipping it early, so shout out to them for
And
being
a
on time.
dedicated support line for Surface Studio owners, which is pretty awesome, right?
Yeah.
Because it's such a different device.
And I don't know how. Do we have like 30 seconds for a quick story?
Yes.
So I went into the Microsoft store by chance the week my review went up for the performance-based
And you're
model.
like, here's my performance band.
Well-
You can't even tell it. You're going to have to take my word for it.
yeah, seriously. But so I go in and so I've worked retail in the past, like years ago. So they get these rehearsed things. So the guy goes up to me, he goes, "Excuse me, sir, what do you know about this new Surface Book with performance base?" I'm like, "Let me tell you." He's like, "Oh no!"
That's so funny.
And so I started like getting feelers. I'm like, "Well, I know it's got double the video RAM." He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "And I know the gap in between the keyboard is smaller." He's like, "Yeah." And he's like getting excited, like brought me on. And then I just went on to like this big list of things, like this, and he's just like listening, waiting. And then I swear to God, this happened. At the very end, he goes, "So my sister needs a new computer. You seem to be smart with this type of
computers,
thing,
yeah.
with computers." And she goes, she doesn't want a Microsoft one. Do you know anything about the new MacBook?
That's so
this
funny.
is the Microsoft store. Anyway, that's my story. So
They should
good.
commission you.
yeah, it was
You should go
hilarious.
sell
So I
for
just
them.
walked in and yeah. So anyway, so
Next, you got to go in the Apple store with the AirPods on.
finally someone said something. I did that. I would do that in California, and people come right up. They're like, "Yo, you got those already?" Not in Canada though. They're like scared to come up to me. So finally, an employee noticed in Toronto here. They're like, "That's the first time I've seen them." But in California, like the employees would be like, "Yo, what's that you got on?" And and I'm like, "They're the new AirPods." Like, oh, but here I don't know if we're just too polite and they don't
Which
want to
is
approach
cultural
me.
difference,
The
right?
first-
Like,
Yeah.
Well, someone went up to you, right?
Yeah, the first week that I had them, TTC like fair enforcement person was like, "Yo, what are those?
Yeah.
I saw those on TV. How do you have them?" And I'm like, "I just found them.
Cool.
I just made up like this. I made up this like elaborate story. I didn't want to tell them that I was like a journalist and I get stuff early. Sometimes I was just like, oh, they were at the store, man. Like if you go tonight, you can buy them."
Patrick, you're spreading fake news.
Yeah.
I'm Facebook.
Well, but in California, they actually asked. But here, and I don't know if they noticed or they just didn't notice. But the funny thing is, I went into the Microsoft store a couple times, and that's where people would stop me
Oh,
right
interesting.
away. They're like,
Well-
"You got the AirPods?" They knew exactly what it was, and they would
Interesting.
approach me. But the Apple store, they did not.
They
until
probably just
finally.
came from the Apple store.
Yeah, maybe. They're like, "I saw that picture on the wall." But finally, the guy that did it a couple days ago, literally, that's the first time I had them for 3 months now.
Yeah.
First time someone in Canada in the Apple store said it. And he goes, "Yeah, well, someone came in with Halloween and on Halloween, and they made their own. Like that was their costume. They took old."
That's
like,
a great
earpods,
idea.
Snipped the cable and walked around.
Jeez.
So I approached
That's a good
him.
costume.
We're tech reporters. Why don't we think of these
Yeah,
things?
and so I went up to him and he's like, "Oh no, they're fake. Sorry." So he's like, "So I had to come up and see if yours were real." Like that's like the last thing. Anyway,
That's hilarious.
But, yeah, that's my thing. Sorry, your shout out.
My shout out. I had one. My shout out goes. It's like a negative shout out though.
Whatever.
That's
So
okay.
it goes to Nintendo for obviously doing intentional stock shortages on the NES Mini, which is a practice that they've done for a number of years for various different products, like the Wii, all the way back even to like the Nintendo 64, and it creates this like crazy frenzy over trying to get your hands on one.
On that note, if you go to mobilesyrup.com, you can enter a contest to win the NES Mini. Continue.
Good plug.
Shameless
That was
plug.
good. That was good. And yeah, when they go on sale, and like I have a friend that owns a video game store, and like he requested 300 units and got 13. So this is obviously a very intentional thing that the company is doing.
It's not right.
And it's horrible because this is like a very sought after Christmas gift. So yeah, that's my very sad, sullen shout out.
But what they should do, honestly, if they were smart, because it makes sense for
A bit of a
yeah. There's an asterisk on that.
It makes marketing.
Sub-demand.
It makes marketing sense
for like big console launches. But this kind of thing, this should be the product that they have sitting there at like what is it, Urban Outfitters?
It should
on
be
Yelp.
everywhere.
Like on those but not just like tech retailers, but it should be like the impulse buy with vinyl records sitting there at Urban Outfitters or Behavior, whatever the one is on Young Street.
Like I bought a ColecoVision Flash console from Jisk.
Yeah.
And it was sitting in the checkout, and I was like, "Damn, man, I want that. I'm gonna buy that. It's $30," and I bought it.
yeah.
That's what this should be.
That's what
It
it should
shouldn't.
be.
It shouldn't be scarce.
Yeah. So
So, dear readers, just so you don't say we're biased, my shout out also goes to Nintendo for releasing Pokemon Sun and Moon, which
Great game. Great game.
we have both sides. You balanced it out. It's fine.
as true journalists
Objectivity.
do.
Yeah.
Objectivity.
Really good game though.
It is.
It pulled me back into Pokemon.
There you go.
Good.
I think Pokemon Go did that to you.
Yeah, well, that's true. But this pulled me back into like core Pokemon. I've been playing it every night.
I feel
Surprisingly.
like with all the Pokemon Go stores, y'all kind of got sick of it after like a
Oh,
month.
yeah.
We're like, oh,
Yeah.
Pokemon Go.
Ditto's back now though.
Ditto's back. So
When
Ditto.
it small story, when it came to US in the US, they I downloaded it from the US. I don't know if we're supposed to or not, but so then some Post Media had me
Dude.
go out.
Dude, before you say
not
that,
supposed to.
this site made bank on telling people how to download it from the US.
That's true.
I got
Okay.
approached by Patrick McGuire
epic.
from Vice. He's like, "Oh, you're from Mobile Syrup." He's like, "Thanks so much for that guide."
Yeah. He DM'd me and asked me like specific instructions of how to do it.
Yeah.
Because he saw that I was tweeting about it before I wrote the actual story.
Yeah.
It's like ridiculous.
So anyway, so they had Post Media had me go out and literally walk the sidewalk catching Pokemon so they could snap photos. So then on the day it launched in Canada, I was like the Post Media face for Pokemon Go and like all of our newspapers
the dream.
across the country. It's
the dream.
I was like, someone's like, "Yeah, I saw you in the Calgary Herald today. You looked like an idiot." I'm like, thanks. Usually my mom says that. Anyway.
On that note, thanks, Mom, for listening.
Yeah, thanks, Mom. Send more pizza pockets.
Josh, thank you so much again for hopping on the podcast. I hope you'll come back.
Yeah,
we haven't
fun.
scared you off. I don't know. Sometimes,
Yeah,
Sometimes we lose guests. It's okay.
I don't know if Peter will ever come back after. No,
it was fun.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
So peace out.
See ya.